I'm going to quote a very good president. Now, keep in mind, this president was on the poorer side, grew up in a log cabin. Before I tell you the president's name, I'll give you the quote. I destroy my enemy by making him my friend. Now, I'm going to repeat that one more time. I destroy my enemies by making them my friend. Meaning, by treating your enemies with love and compassion, you will no longer have an enemy. Now, who am I quoting? Abraham Lincoln. Now, that's the mindset of poor presidents and people who are running today that come from the bottom half of society. There's lots of people today that have really, really good ideas, really good sayings and ideas similar to Abraham Lincoln. They want what we all want, similar to like JFK. JFK seemed to be for the people. Abraham Lincoln was definitely for the people. Now, when you think of presidents today, have they tried to give love and compassion to enemies? Or have we destroyed and let war after war after war after war after war totally destroy our integrity? Are we really trying to rebuild the world, or are we trying to project our own narratives onto the world? Are we letting each country make its own choices as long as it doesn't cause any harm? Are we sending more aid than we are weapons and destruction? Of course not. America has this concept that if we sell weapons to the whole world and they're all pointing them at each other, then we're safe. The problem is those weapons don't go away and they don't stay in people's hands. They get shifted around every 10 to 20 years. Like, for instance, the weapons that the CIA gave to Iraq and Iran back in the I think it was 80s, then were repurposed in the 2000s against our own soldiers. So if you were in Desert Storm fighting, the weapons that were getting shot back at you was U.S. weapons. There were weapons given to Iran during a CIA support. So instead of using all this money to make food or things that can help promote peace, we give the whole world weapons, have them pointed at one another, and we tell them to make peace. But those weapons, like I said, do not stay in one hand. They get shifted around. And there's plenty of maps and videos explaining how we project power by being the world's weapons salesman. And that we say that by selling weapons to every single country, massive amounts of them, we are making stability. Literally, our leaders have come forward and said this is how they plan to stabilize the world, by selling every single country weapons so everybody has the same weapons pointed at each other. This is not a good concept. This is not destroying our enemy by making them our friend. This is literally making everybody an enemy so everybody's too afraid to do anything. But as soon as somebody acts up, boom, disaster. And don't forget, those weapons don't stay in any individual's hand over a period of time. The weapons that were sold in the 80s are now getting used against us. The weapons that were sold in the 60s are now getting used against us. This is a very common problem. So when you hear next time that our government's going to stabilize the world by selling more weapons, know that that's full of shit bullshit. The only way to fully stabilize the world is by spreading love, compassion, and making your enemies your friends. And I truly believe that this is the way forward. Because we live in a society where we don't have to be like this. There are people using resources that could literally keep like 100 people alive a day. I've seen wealthy people who are at the middle class use up money that could keep 100 people in another country alive. Here's another one. We have more people in prison in America than some countries. Most countries have people. Like, for instance, if you take the population of Mexico and then you take the population of our prisons in the United States, they almost match identically. There's a lot of countries like that. Maybe not exact, but there's a lot of big, big countries that their whole entire population is equal to the U.S. prison population. Now, why is this? Why are there so many innocent people going to jail? Why are they making so many new laws where you could walk down the street and go to jail? Why are people going to jail for just not having a home? Why are people going to jail just for sitting on a sidewalk or just taking a jog to the library? And they're just poor individuals. They're poor, they're African American, they come from another country, whatever the issue is. It's discrimination. What they're really doing is they don't have enough housing or jobs to support the bottom half. So the people that don't have an education or don't have money at the bottom half are housed in prisons. A lot of them are innocent. A lot of them are railroaded into prisons. Keep that in mind. I would say, most of these low-level prisons have a lot of people that have committed no crime. Now, they have people who have stolen. They got people who are drug addicts. They got people who are low offense, people. But there's also people who just walk down the street. There are people who a cop light on fire and railroaded. There are people who are African Americans come out of a store and they were killed. There is people who literally, the cops do something they're not supposed to do, or you're in the wrong place at the wrong time and they railroad you. Like, for instance, you know those little pill bottles that you put your medication in? Like, let's say you have to go to work and you take a 12 o'clock medication for your cancer, but the cop does not know this, or let's say you don't want to tell him about your cancer. So in the morning, you put your medication in that little metal jar they tell you to use at Walgreens, and your doctor says, yeah, just use a daily jar. Walgreens will sell it to you just fine. It's a little keychain that holds your daily medication on you. Well, what they don't tell you is they're setting you up for jail time. If a cop wants to put you in jail and you're a low-income homeless individual, having that on you will send you to jail. But if you're a wealthy individual with lots of money like O.J. Simpson, then in that circumstances you can carry your medication on you without your labels. But if you're homeless or a poor person and you carry your daily medication on you without labels, yes, you will be harassed and you will be put in prison. There's a lot of these little laws that are totally on the books to put the people who literally need help in prison. If you don't have a lot of money, if you are born an orphan, you are bound to end up in prison, because that is the housing program in America for the low income. This is what they don't tell you. The prison population is as large as a country by itself in America, and most of these people sitting in prison have done nothing but walk down the sidewalk. That's it. They're following instructions by their doctors, by every person of authority. They're literally following the instructions to the letter, but yet they end up in prison. I've seen this over and over and over and over. Meanwhile, they let hookers and drug dealers off the hook. Why? Because they have money. If you are a hooker and you make thousands a day and you are spending that in the town, they actually usually give you a break. If you are a drug dealer, a high-class drug dealer, and you're trying to play the game, a lot of times, unless you get caught red-handed, they let you go. But if you are a homeless person that has no money and you look dirty and you're following the laws and you just have your medication on you, you go to prison. This is because of the money situation. Two people can look like they're doing nothing wrong, but if one person has money, they go free even if they have something wrong on them. Meanwhile, the poor homeless guy is put in the prison for literally just walking down the sidewalk with his medication. And this is just one example. I could go on and on and on and on about all the failures in broken society. I mean, come on, we're the divided states of America now, and we really need to work together.